Yesterday I mentioned that I don't trust myself, and I briefly stated also that I'm a liar. And I thought I'd tell you today a little story about how I came to know myself to be a liar. It goes way back to my adolescent years, pre-adolescent years. I was in the 6th grade, I think it was, living in Lake Hughes, California, and my best friend at the time and I decided to go on a little mini backpacking adventure over the weekend into the hills behind our home and the Chaparral Mountains up there, a beautiful place, but very, very dense, manzanita bushes and all this kind of stuff. And we were just little kids, well, not little kids, we were, sixth grade, but we backed up our bags and, for overnight stuff. This is like my first time ever to do this type of thing independently. And he and I took off. We needed machetes to get into those hills. And we took off up this canyon and hacked our way deep up into the mountains up there and wound up on a ridge some miles away up there. We were already in a remote place where we took off. We were in a really remote place in the Angeles National Forest. We ended up on this ridge where there was an animal trail going down there weren't any proper trails up there. This was an animal trail going down along the top of the ridge, the saddleback there. And night was falling, so we set up our tents. We each had our little pup tent dealy thing with the zipper in the front, and had our dinner. We didn't have a campfire. We just ate our sandwiches and sat up together and watched the stars come out, and then wound up in bed. Now, I was really scared. I don't know about my friend, but I was really, really scared. And I sat there in my sleeping bag. Here we are, two young boys alone for the first time up in the mountains. This is when Softy Papa was still just a glimmer in my eye, and up alone in the mountains, we were pretty freaked out. And so I remember sleeping there. I had an axe. I brought not an axe, but a hatchet with me, and I had a hatchet. I had brought a big pillow. Took about 30% of the volume in my backpack, and I had that hatchet under the pillow, and I held on to it all night long. Felt my comfort. And I remember the moon rising. I didn't sleep well that night. I remember the moon rising. We were on the saddleback, and we could see over the vast expanse of these mountains, and the moon rose and kind of illuminated in the face of the tent. Now the animal trail, we were just off the animal trail, a very faint track, and you could see the moon off there in the distance. The zipper was closed on our tents. His was as well. And sometime in the middle of the night, we weren't talking or anything like that. I thought he was asleep. We began to hear, I heard sounds coming down, very little, crack, snap things, like something, remember it's dense in there, moving through the bushes, coming down the ridge. Grab my axe and my hatchet there a little more. I'm not going to say anything or move or anything. And it got closer and closer, and then I could hear it approaching our tents. As it approached the tents, I saw a shape, and not a very distinct shape, kind of just a shape, not very tall necessarily, kind of low, move past between the end of my tent and the moon out there. It was big, kind of silhouetted it as it passed and then went on down. Something walked down that animal trail and past our tent in the middle of the night. I don't think I slept at all for the rest of the night. The next morning I woke up, and one of the first things, I don't remember, this is a long time ago, so I don't remember who said what or where it came from, but before long we were talking, and, the subject, did you hear it? Did you see it last night? And before long, one of us said the word Bigfoot. Well, before long, our story had evolved to between the two of us. I don't remember how it evolved, but it evolved that we didn't see a shape move in front of the tent, but we saw the silhouette of a man with swinging arms move in front of our tent. And that was as we made our way back down the mountain, hatcheting through it, we talked about it and wondered after it and all those sorts of things, and we had a heck of a whopper of a fishtail, so to speak, to bring back to our families to tell about our story. Well, we got back and we told our respective families about our adventures, and wouldn't you know it, before long I was told that we were going to receive a visit from a gentleman from the Bigfoot Society. The Bigfoot Society. Yes, indeed. On the appointed date and time, we waited for him at my house because I was closest to the place where the sort of adventure starting point. And this man, armed with weapons, he had a gun and photo camera and all kinds of stuff. We escorted him back up into the mountains to the exact spot where we had overnighted, and it was a lot easier to get there because we knew exactly how to get there, and we'd already blazed the trail previously. So we took him up there, and I remember watching him with his equipment and his notebook and everything, carefully taking photographs and looking at things, asking us where the thing had walked and stuff. And he came away, by the time we had emerged down the hill, he was convinced that we had actually had a Bigfoot encounter. And he documented it as such. And he told us about all the other Bigfoot encounters in that area, some of them quite scary. I mean, he told us one that really, still just thinking about it now, raises the hackles, the hairs on the back of my neck. But anyway, so our experience became lodged in the official account, the records of Bigfoot encounters in the Angeles National Forest around Lake Hughes. Now, I was too young to really think about the significance and the consequence of all that stuff, and I really don't think that I was consciously out to lie to anybody, but I just kind of moved on my way. Now, what happened? Now, it gets more interesting than that, because what happened? Here's you take what I see. I had an ambiguous observation that, through circumstance and excitement, led into becoming an official recorded encounter with Bigfoot. Now, it gets worse than that, though. For the following several decades, 2 decades at least, I continued to tell the story of our encounter with Bigfoot. It became lodged in my head as truth, even though I knew that it was BS. I knew that we had, I love that word, extrapolate. We'd extrapolated an encounter with Bigfoot from just something that had passed us in the night. I had this wonderful story that I had developed. I like words. That I would tell at parties, around campfires, and when any opportunity with friends, about how my friend and I encountered Bigfoot. And I dressed it up with all the anecdotes that man had told us about all the other encounters. Well, I walked through the spider web. All the other encounters with Bigfoot, including that really scary one. It made it great. I could entertain for 15 minutes, and at the campfire with the family and friends, telling them all about Bigfoot. This perpetuating this story and giving it credence through the recounting of somebody that I think my family and friends took me as a credible source. All the while, it was BS. And a little piece of me in the back was all the while complaining and frustrating and saying, "What are you doing, Kurt? Not only did you lie the first time, but you're carrying on with it still more." And I did that for several decades. Now I'm coming out. This is the first time I've ever confessed it to anybody, that this was total crap. That I saw something, we saw something, and we allowed the story to get out of control. We allowed it to become recorded in the ledgers, the official scientific ledgers, so to speak, pseudoscience, not real science, and it was, and then not only that, but then to pass it along, to try to enter it into our own little family mythologies. I don't know if my friend did the same. I know that he was equally as excited about the attention as I was at the time, and it's very likely that he may still be telling that story to this day. So the long and short of it is, I'm a liar. And it's not just this story. I lie a lot. Yes, Your Honor, I have been, and will likely always continue to be, a bald-faced liar. Now, keep in mind that I include exaggeration in that measure. To me, simply a matter of degree. Now, maybe some people have a better definition of exaggeration, but I think of exaggeration as simply a lesser degree of flat-out lies. So don't trust me. And yesterday's video, that I'm a screwed up individual. So you know that you shouldn't have faith in what I say, or nor should you ever believe what I say. So with that in mind, I hope that you will all can be very careful with any observations that I particularly make, because I am a very fallible one indeed, and that is the honest truth.